Hi, everybody. Karen Roby and Adrian Kingsley-Hughes here for ZDNet, talking today about Sonos. A couple different things here, Adrian, that we're going to chat about. First of all, recycle mode. Sonos being called out this week for its practices around sustainability and ending some software updates. So let's just start first with the biggest news coming out of Sonos and your thoughts on that.
Well, this comes hot on the heels of at the end of last year was it bubbled up in the news that recycle mode on Sonos's gear is essentially just a button that people press that basically bricks the device, which there's really no excuse for that other than they don't want that product to enter into a secondary market where they're not getting money from it. And from an environmental perspective, that's pretty poor, and it's pretty hard to justify that in any sense. Yesterday comes out, Sonos is now saying, hey, if you bought stuff from around circa 2007, 2009, although some of these things are still being sold up until 2015, we're dropping support for these things. And people are pretty upset about that. These are not $20 speakers, these are expensive things. And I think the audio market is slowly catching on to the idea that, when you buy something that isn't just a speaker, but it is a computer essentially with updatable firmware on it, is connected to some kind of third-party service, that these things go out of date. And, it comes as quite a shock to people that these things are out of date. But in some ways, Sonos has done a very good job of keeping these things in service. The blog post that announced the withdrawal of support for these devices, which happens in May, said that 92% of everything that Sonos has ever made is still in use. Well, the company was formed in 2002. Its first products hit the market in about 2015. That's a pretty good run. And, we live in the tech world, and, everything ages at dog years. So I think maybe people had a good run out of things.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, Adrian, here off camera before this. Is when you talk about the idea of passing something down, that just doesn't happen anymore, right? I mean, whether it's a speaker, TV, anything, things after a year, 2, 3 years, they're old news.
I think that's the thing. There's definitely a massive market handing down things like smartphones and tablets, but beyond that, everything seems to have a very limited value. And I think audiophiles, they love their equipment. And I'm not going to get into the fact that audiophiles will spend crazy money on cables that actually do nothing, but the branding is brilliant. And, there's definitely here an idea that money buys something that's better. And I think when people bought something with the Sonos brand on it, I think they were expecting this would maybe be something that would become an heirloom, and now for the plug to be pulled on it, they're learning essentially that this is nothing more than modern technology. And it to me doesn't feel that much different to how people are changing things like thermostats for smart thermostats. They change doorbells for smart doorbells. They change light switches for smart light switches. They're changing products that before you would have easily got maybe 10, 20, maybe even 30 years of life out of it before you even thought about this thing needs replacing, with something that is of limited lifespan. Certainly if it has a battery in it, the batteries, might be its kind of limiting factor, or it just doesn't like being outdoors. I've seen a lot of these modern doorbells rot out in 2 or 3 years. It's an age where and let's add on top of that, if the service or product kind of is the company that made it is still in existence in 3 or 5 years. We live in a world where things age very quickly. We live in a world where there's churn in terms of buying new things. And this is something I think that the people who buy high-end speakers are going to have to get used to.
Yeah, most certainly. Again, because we're not talking about a cheap product here. These are definitely higher priced. Well, Adrian, advice for those that do have Sonos speakers in their possession. What do they need to do?
Well, it's a complex matter, and I think Sonos offers a 30% discount for people upgrading. That seems reasonably good. That's certainly something. Most companies don't do that. When I give my old iPhone, back to Apple, they don't give me 30% back on it. That would be pretty cool. But even that is a little bit now tainted with this idea of recycle mode, and that these speakers would maybe be better off entering into a second-hand market where they were being used rather than being recycled. There's also an issue that if people have old and new Sonos gear on the same network, that may prevent the new gear from being upgraded and updated. That could also be a problem. So people might need to juggle stuff around. But ultimately, I think this is the way of it. You buy stuff, you have maybe a 3-year window in it, 4-year window in it before you're going to have to start thinking potentially about it being you being forcibly, pushed to make an upgrade. And I think, speakers are the next thing. And I think, they're going to join the raft of other things that we upgrade every few years that they're in our possession for very little time, from smartphones to laptops to tablets. Now it's smart speakers.
Yep, just unfortunately, yeah, the way it is. But it sure would be nice, though, Adrian, if we could get Apple to give us 30% back when we turn our phones in. Yeah, I could use that. All right, Adrian, thanks so much for that. Adrian's full article, of course, can be found on ZDNet. Thanks for watching.